Folks, welcome back to Three's End. I'm kind of on a roll today. I got a little quiet spot here before the silly season really takes off. At any rate, I'm up at a staff meeting one time down at Randolph, and after the staff meeting, Tom Bob collars me and says, "Hey, Colonel, do you have a moment?" Now, we both are lieutenant colonels. And he says, "Hey, Colonel, you have a moment?" Okay, that's the first sign. Well, of course I have a moment. You're the ADO and I'm the squadron commander. I have all kinds of moments for you, sir. So we go into the office and he says, "Close the door." Oh, more good news, I suppose. Not hardly. So I close the door and turn around and he says, "I want to take a moment to tell you that you have the worst paperwork of any unit on base." Holy crap, didn't realize that. And he went on to tell me about the paperwork and errors that they were seeing, and I needed to spend more time in the office looking at paperwork rather than flying. At the time, I was averaging about 28 hours a month flying, and the other squadron commander, we had three squadrons. One of the other squadron commanders was averaging about 11 hours a month, and the T-38 squadron commander was averaging 8 hours a month. Busted. At any rate, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "Well, sir, when's the last time you ever heard about good paperwork bringing down a MiG?" And I thought, you might just want to keep that to yourself. Okay, fine. But as he was going on, I was just slow burning. A little twit. And I was just, you could almost see the smoke coming out of my ears. But at any rate, I sat there and I said, "Well, sir, I'll make a conscientious effort to see if I can bring those up to a little bit better, higher standards, if you will." Okay, fine. So I saluted smartly and thanked him for the insight, and off I went. I went back to the squadron. Man, I was just pissed. First thing I did, I called up the flying squadron and told them that I'd had some things come up. I had to get off the flying schedule. Not a problem. They took me off. And probably ought to stay off the next day. Okay, fine. So the next day rolls around, and I walked into the squadron, and I'm just kind of in a figure eight all day. I did monitor a couple of classes. I did proofread a couple of OERs going out, officer efficiency reports and so forth like that. But for the most part, I was just like a caged cat or something. I just was not comfortable at all. And about 3:30, 4 o'clock, 3:30 maybe, I get a call on the hotline. Now, the only person that used to call me on that hotline was Tom Bob. And he would say, "Bob," he says, "this is Lieutenant Colonel Schmuckenfuss, the ADO." And I know who he is. He doesn't need to tell me what position he had. It was almost like getting a call from Carlton, the doorman. Our DO at the time, a guy named Dick Scone, really a great guy. I liked Dick's. Anyway, he would call me up and say, "You gonna be there?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'll come down and see you, have a cup of coffee." He would come down and sit and have a cup of coffee. I think he was looking for an excuse to get out of the office. But meanwhile, back to Tom Bob. He'd say, "Bob, this is Lieutenant Colonel," I use the name Schmuckenfuss, "the ADO." And I'd say, "Yes, sir." I always wanted to say, "This is Lieutenant Colonel Holliker, the squadron commander," but I just let it slide. So anyway, about 3:30, I get this call on the hotline, and Tony Paradowski was walking through the orderly room. I said, "Hey, Tony, come here." I said, "Answer that, and when he asks for me, tell him you think I'm out flying." So Tony does. "Yes, sir." He says, "This is Captain Paradowski. Can I help you, sir?" He says, "Where's Lieutenant Colonel Holliker?" And he said, "Sir, I think he's out flying." You could hear him say, "God damn it." And he hung up. So Tony and I stood there and chuckled a minute and went back and got a cold pop, a couple of them, a couple of long necks. And then I came back, picked up the hotline and called Tom Bob and said, "Sir," I said, "Tony Paradowski said that you were out flying? I said, oh, no, sir. I said, I stepped out of the room to visit the facilities, if you will, and I failed to mention to anybody where I was going. I said, you told me not that I was flying too much and that I need to pay more attention to my paperwork, so that's what I committed myself to. What can I help you with? Well, he was so flustered, he didn't even know what the hell he called me for, and that was fine too. But at any rate, hung up. He and I both sat there and chuckled a bit. And the next day, I brought in a spare hat, a spare set of keys. I walked around the house and picked up a bunch of keys, and an old pair of sunglasses. A script had run bad on me or whatever. And so I laid the hat and the keys and the sunglasses on my desk, and then I went out and flew. You know, I never heard another word from that knothead for the remaining year and a half or year I was at Randolph. God, that was funny. One of the things, a footnote to that, is that whole idea of telling him that I had been in the senior officer's reading room came from the book The Great Santini by Pat Conroy. I'd read that book, and that was one of the scenes or one of the descriptions in there. Probably shouldn't have read it. But anyway, it worked. So y'all take care, and we'll see you the next time.